Hello, and thank you for joining us today at Beautiful Literature with me, Teacher Martha. I am so glad that you could join us. And guess what? Today we have chapter 13 and chapter 14 combined to close this text on the fathers of nations. The reason why I want to combine both of them is because chapter 13 is very brief. Remember, the previous chapter was long and took us a bit of time, but it was worth it, chapter 12, because we needed to really understand exactly what happened in the summit. How did it go down? How the discussions go? And by the time we were concluding chapter 12, we left when there is a method committee that has been elected for it to choose the method for the members to come and implement the following day. And so here we are in chapter 13, very brief, and we'll combine it with chapter 14, the last chapter of this text. And so let's go into chapter 13. And chapter 13 begins with a very casual and social environment where we have Abiola, Dr. Afolabi, who is going to visit, actually. Now it seems their relationship with Fiona has escalated into something social. It's no longer the difficult and relationship we saw at the beginning of the text where they didn't end up very well, but along the way, they've been able to create something social, and it's not really clear what it is, but now they can even visit each other. So it seems like she had given him directions on where to go visit him. You can see he was looking for the middle floor and the top floor. He kept looking at her apartment, and therefore he was able to finally get there. And he got in and was actually served something to drink, and they were very happy. You could see on page 169 where she returned with 2 glasses. Cheers. She offered him one. Cheers. He accepted it. So she sat beside him smiling with joy. To us, she raised her glass. To us, he clicked the glass with hers. There's something very interesting there that we saw, that she laughed. Her every laugh was a song now, a melody performed by a youthful diva in love. I'm not very sure. I don't want to confidently say that they were having a relationship, a romantic relationship. I'm not very confident to say that right now, but where they are, you can see there is some bit of familiarity that is there. And even when we go on, we see when the Nick comes in, and there's a reason why their meeting was there. It was just another visit. And so we have, immediately after that, we have Nick who comes in, and Nick sits down. And of course, Dr. Afolabi has always wanted to meet Nick because he was very impressed at how, with his silent listener, he was able to pick all the discussions they were having with the 4 observers, and he really would have wanted to meet him. And when Nick sits down, he says, before you sit down, say hello to a big fan of yours. His name is Abiola Afolabi. She just said to him, he's dying to meet you. Then she started walking to her refrigerator. Hi, Nick, what would you like to drink? And so on. So you see the relationship is very friendly, no tension and so on. And we also don't see a lot of serious discussions going on here, apart from where they are reviewing how the meeting was, and actually they realize that without your tip, the trick would not have managed, I would not have managed to put Path Alpha on the summit agenda in the first place. So you realize that this VOA, the Nick and his technology advancement, they actually helped the agenda of Path Alpha to actually get to know what's going on. There was the issue of the trick, and that is what brought information, brought Dr. Afolabi into the know, and he actually knew how to go about the meeting and behave in a way that would put Path Alpha into the limelight and so on. And it was confidential, and we wouldn't have known that if the silent listener had not picked it up. And he asked him now that they are going to meet now, have you picked anything from the method committee? And Nick tells him, actually, I've had them talk about the choice matrix. Don't ask me for what the details entails. I don't know yet. So just want to let you know there is something that they are talking about. When they're choosing between Way Omega and Path Alpha, they're talking about the choice matrix. I don't know what it is, but you see that is information that Dr. Afolabi needed and his team needed for them to know how to handle the meeting. How to behave in the next day's meeting when they've got to choose. And of course, now that would be so cool, yes. Their meeting is over. Really, there was nothing more to discuss. And actually, he tells him, Dr. Afolabi tells him, come on, Nick, we always be friends. Listen, I've arranged observer status for Fiona at the summit tomorrow. I could do the same for you if you'd like to come. You'd learn a thing or two about African trickery. And so you realize that Dr. Afolabi knows that actually not everything in Africa is straight. When you come into the meeting, because you're not Africans, you'll be able to learn a few things. And Nick says, I would really love to come. I can even ask Bob, my boss at VOA, to tag along. And of course, now that helps us to know that tomorrow in the meeting, we will have other observers. Mackenzie, Nick, and Bob will join in the meeting as the observers. And of course, the Mackenzie saw him out and Abiola followed. So that's why I'm saying the relationship between Mackenzie and Dr. Afolabi is one that is social, but yet also very professional. Because if really they had something more, they would have probably been left, the two of them. But Abiola moves out, and that's the end of their meeting. And their meeting was important because he gets to know about the choice matrix. That is chapter 13. Allow me to move on to chapter 14, the last chapter, because this is slightly longer than chapter 13, but I will keep it short because there isn't much to talk about. Because actually this chapter 14, you will need to go through it yourself for you to understand the details. I may not, if I say I take you through step by step, on exactly the choice matrix and what exactly they did, we will take a whole 1 hour doing that. And I don't want to do that because you're brilliant. And I know that if with a little guidance, you can be able to have a look at it on your own or even with the assistance of your teacher. But I just want to bring to your attention that the method committee, when they were tasked with the responsibility of meeting, that is in chapter 14 now, when they were tasked with the responsibility of meeting and coming up with the methods of how to do it. Remember who are the members of this committee. They are led by Bangoura, and remember, he has nothing to offer. This man is old. He's not interested in the book, in the 2 documents he has not read, so he's really relying on other people to tell him how to go about it. And to cut the long story short, they were able to meet and discuss, and now we are in the meeting, and they are ready to give us the method on how we are going to choose between way omega and path alpha. And when he's asked on page 174 whether President Bangoura, may I ask you as the committee's leader if you're able to find such a method, and he said, of course, yes, we are ready. And of course the members were very happy to hear that actually there is a method. And just to cut that short, I will not go into the details. We go into page 176 or 177 where we have the choice matrix. And the choice matrix, if you look at it, there's a young man, there's a youth who is projecting that with a projector, and it has a table, and that table has a simple equation. Each cell contains a simple equation. We have H equals omega, H equals approve, T equals alpha, and T equals reject. Now, surely, for any common monanchi just like me, I would not even understand what exactly they're talking about. They really complicated this anyway. So they said, this is the method my committee and I found. It was a table with 4 cells. We called it the choice matrix. And the mathematics, so the members were wondering, are we having mathematics now to decide between way omega and the summit? And of course, that was not easy for them to be able to discuss that. And here is what those equations will tell you, Excellencies. They say I will toss this coin twice. He held high the coin that he was talking about. If the coin lands with the tail, the heads first, then the first equation. If first row, first column of the choice matrix is telling you. Now you can see how even confusing it is, even reading what he's trying to say. Actually, it was so confusing such that the members of the rest of the state, they could only watch, because in this table they're talking about the 4 cells. If you look at the explanation that they are giving, actually it's very confusing, even for anyone to understand, because they are talking about the 4 cells and saying that when they toss the coin, there is also the tossing of the coin. If the coin lands with a tail, then there is where omega wins. There is, if they're tossing with the head, where omega, path alpha wins or something, it's just a way that is actually by chance. So in fact, the question that you want to ask yourself, a document like this, so important, that determines what happens to the future of a country, future of a continent. How would we even decide what document to pick by throwing of coins? I thought it was important for us to look at both documents, read them through, probably read through every aspect, important aspect, and then just let members say which one works better for their countries. Ideally, that is what should have happened. But you see, the members, the head of state don't want to do that. It's tiring, it's involving. Already they are tired with the little things that are going on. They're already very tired. And they do not want to go into the depth of Path Alpha. What does it say? Where Omega, what does it say? Some of them have not even read the document. And on that page 177, they actually go ahead to describe what happens. On page 179, it's actually now where probably I would read and say these equations are saying this. Whether document emerging from first toss, where Omega or Path Alpha, is approved or rejected will depend on the outcome of the second toss. Now, you're not even tossing first, you're even tossing again. And then the old man held his coin high again. Third equation, the second row, first column tells if heads, you must approve document. Fourth equation in second row, second column says if tails, you must how do you even make that kind of decision? Even a whole summit, they are seated. You can imagine 49 heads of state. They are seated listening to something like this. An important document is being decided with an equation where the tossing of coins, not about the merits and the demerits of Path Alpha, or the merits and demerits of Way Omega, or how does it interpret into the life of the common people? How does it benefit my members of my country? How does it bring development? How does it bring peace? How does it bring growth, employment or security, food security? None of those issues are discussed. Actually, we are talking about the tossing of the coins. And all this time, there was so much, the members are not even aware what's going on. And that story goes on. You can read that on going on all the way to page 181. And there is nothing more we are talking about the choice matrix, indeed, the throwing of the coins and back. I will not take you through that. Find time to go through it. Find time to read through it. I hope you can understand it better than I'm explaining, because maybe when you go through it, it becomes a bit easier. But please know that the method they have used to decide what document wins is actually just not okay. But after all is said and done, I want to let you know that Path Alpha is what won. Boy Omega did not win. Of course, some people are not very happy. And especially one of the person who is not happy is President Dibonso. He sprang to his feet at once. That is on page 183. And he said, Mr. Chairman, don't insult our intelligence with that rubbish. His voice was grating on all ears with tones of rage. What rubbish are you referring to, President Dibonso? And then the choice matrix, indeed. Did you really expect us to buy into that madness? Can't you see that some of us are not senile? We reject the matrix, lock, stock, and barrel. I said the summit stands closed. Actually, they've already closed to the summit because Path Alpha has won using the choice matrix. President Dibonso is saying we cannot close this summit because we have not done it right. We need to do this in the right way. And the chair says, by the way, I have already closed this summit. And he says, I say it is open again. That is Dibonso saying, and says, and who are you to say that the Nini is open? The summit is open. You have no powers to open it, so it is closed. And at this point, President Dibonso is not happy. And what does he decide to do? He pulls a pistol, a pocket size, from his pocket, and he actually is intending to shoot the chair. And out of that, the pistol clicked. It was ready to start spitting fire at the chair. And at that moment is, of course, when the chair pressed the panic button hidden under his desk. And of course, the commandos armed with machine guns burst into the summit hall at a run. And of course, the meeting, everybody runs for his life because they know that at a moment like this, you can even be shot by mistake and so on. And President Dibonso disabled his little gun, hid it away, and then slipped out through the emergency exit. Can you imagine? And by the end of the day, the meeting is ended. People are even supposed to have dinner to conclude this summit, but now there's even no need for dinner because everybody runs away for their own security. And remember all the security measures that has been done to ensure that everybody walking into that building was safe and did not carry illegal things. Remember when Comrade Melusi was being bothered by that young man at the gate, at the entrance, because of his needles for diabetes? He was not even allowed to walk in with needles. It was an issue. So how did President Dibonso get in with a gun? It actually just shows exactly what were we doing. And I mean, it's just a reflection of the African nations that we have. It is important for you to note page 184, the end of it. Dr. Afolabi and Miss Mackenzie were already leaving. He reached out for her hand and asked, so what do you think? She received his hand into hers and asked back, so what did I think about what? Come on, about the summit. Quite a show, huh? Are all summits crazy like that? She asked. No, only those that are crazy like that are crazy like that. Mr. Longway and his 4 men were the last to leave. As they were leaving, they hugged and cheered. Against all odds, their Path Alpha has carried the day. That is the fathers of nations. And finally, the Path Alpha has won, where Omega has lost. And I hope you have followed exactly what happened. Now, at the beginning of this, before I went on to chapter 1, I told you that there was something we needed to look at. That is the forward. The forward is index 3. And I would want to conclude with that because I told you we will not look at the forward first. We'll look at it at the end because it will not make sense to us until we see what happens. I want you to look at the forward and tell me, now that we have come to the end, what do you think about this forward? What do you think about these materials, confidential documents that were being sold? What do you think about the what happened? The document read for 100 eyes only. Which document do you think is this? Is it Path Alpha? Is it Way Omega? Which document is this that was being sold on the streets? And remember, it's written confidential for only 100 eyes only. But how did it end up on the streets? Now, and which document do you think is this? And actually, we are later told that the person who was selling these documents, actually, he disappeared. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody ever admitted that the man caught selling confidential documents disappeared, never to be seen again. What do you think happened to that man who was selling confidential documents on the streets? We'll never know. But of importance is that last paragraph about the dissenting critic. There's a critic who was asked to comment about the summit. Was it a success? Was it a failure? And there is a conversation there about whether the summit was a success or it was a failure. The visiting heads of state have done well to express the view they have expressed, my friend. You tell the critic, look, we have freedom of expression in this country now, don't we? Is it not true that even visiting foreigners can now say, while on our soil, whatever they want to say? And do they not do this because all people, visiting kings and queens included, now have a right to say anything? I want you to read that forward. I'm hoping with all that explanation, you can actually understand what the forward is talking about. Do you think that summit was a success? Is the critic telling the truth? Is there someone who is lying to us? Who was lying? Is it the reporter? Is it the critic? Is it the people on the streets? What they were saying? What were the Gambians saying? But last paragraph is important, and that exactly is what all Gambians did when the summit failed. They still rated it as having been the most successful summit ever held. They were looking at it their way. This story will look at it another way. What really happened at the summit? I want to hope that now you can actually be able to answer that question from the forward very well. So that is it from the Fathers of Nation. I am glad that we have come to the end of it, chapter by chapter, 14 chapters, and hope that you understand the story. In the next one, we will be looking at the themes. I will not go into the many themes because there are so many themes, but I just want you to ask yourself, from what we've learned, are you able to pick a few themes that you have picked from the book? Do you see any themes like themes of family, the themes of friendship, the themes of political things and so on? What do you see? What themes do you find from that book? We'll also talk about characterization. How would you describe the 4 characters? Melusi, engineer, Dr. Afolabi, how would you describe them? Professor Kimani, Pamela, Fiona, how would you describe all these people? What adjectives do you need to use to describe them? And we'll also look at the stylistic devices. That is the next thing we will do, but I may not be able to do all of them, but we'll pick a few. If you would want me to handle 1 or 2, that probably you think you'd want to hear about, just let me know. So that maybe even as I prepare for the next videos on themes and styles and characterization, then probably I would consider looking into that. But thank you very much for keeping me company for the 14 chapters. It was a great honor. Continue sharing, continue subscribing, and looking out for more, because once we are through with the Fathers of Nations, then we will move into the Samaritan, and I will see you there. So in the meantime, thank you and God bless you.